Mark's parents. You should all stand so we can cheer and carry on. We know who Nancy is. We'll go on from there. Jim Burns is with us today. Stan Davis is with us today. All the way from North Carolina, Marge and Ron Hilton are with us today. And from nearby Pennington, Court Hutchinson. Jay Neary is with us today. And I'm going to tell a quick story about the next person. When I called George Nelson to invite him because Mark had asked if George could come, George said, there was a pause, and then he said, Mark was in the first class I ever taught. I said, how did you remember? He said, because we used to go to the grammar school to do puppet shows. And we'd walk over and do the puppet show, and I think that's where Mark kind of got his appetite for the stage and the theater. And George still has the class picture from Mark's 6th grade class. So George Nelson is with us here today. John Ward had hoped to be with us, and he has been detained by other events, but he would otherwise have been here. And only the long-termers among us will remember John. He's been away from Hopewell Valley Schools for a long time, but still very much an active part of our community. Excuse me? Did I miss him? Okay, I'll press on. And finally, Dick Williver is here with us today, also a longtime member and friend of our schools. I want to thank Merrill Lynch, I want to thank the Hopewell Valley Foundation, and I want also just to put in a plug for the Hopewell Valley Foundation's major fundraiser of the year. All the money the foundation raises goes to benefit teachers and children in our schools, and our major fundraiser is the E-Square Dinner on May 6th. So if you can work that into your life, we would welcome you. And I finally want to introduce the members of the Distinguished Graduates Committee, which is an extraordinary committee and which has really been with this project from the start. Not all the members are here today, but if those who are here would stand, please. We'll applaud you all at the end. Jim Benton, Pete Brennan, Kat Diambro, Helene Garcia, Jim Hyman, Cheryl Stone, Barbara Kirsch, Joe Mangiaserina, Kim Newport, Faye Rappaport, and Joe Schenk. Thank you to this committee. We have speakers to welcome you, and we'll start with Helene Garcia.
Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to be here this evening to celebrate these accomplishments of 3 exceptional individuals. The fact that tonight we're honoring a playwright and an actor, a managing editor of a local newspaper, and the chairman of a community bank is proof that the possibilities after high school graduation, although for some of us a very long time ago, are endless. Merrill Lynch carries on a tradition of believing that education is the key to personal growth and prosperity. We are proud to be your sponsor this evening and to share in the celebration of your accomplishments. On a personal note, I'd like to say, Pat, I've had the opportunity to get to know you over the last 6 or 7 years, and it is my honor and my privilege to know you and to work with you on an ongoing basis. Congratulations to all the honorees. You'll hear more about all of them through the program, and thank you for being here.
I should have said this at the start so as not to keep bobbing up and down, so I will just say Judy Ferguson is going to say hello to us, and then Joe Mangiaserina, and we'll proceed from there.
It's really a great pleasure and an honor to be here with you today. I feel as an interim superintendent, that you really, this community has been so welcoming and so warm and so accepting. I'm very happy to be part of the foundation and their important work in our district. Lynn, again, thank you a million times for all of your work in organizing this event through the foundation. And certainly, Eileen, for your personal contributions to the foundation, and Merrill Lynch's in particular. I had the opportunity recently to visit Tollgate Grammar School, and there was a town meeting of students, all the students in the school, and they asked me a question, several questions, but one question that really interested me and made me think was, which school that you went to in your career was your favorite school? And I thought for about 1 second, and I said, my high school. And I think high school is really a very special place in our memories, and it is our kind of launch pad to our careers. And the teachers that we have as high school students have, all teachers are important, but I think they have an especially indelible mark on our lives, and they help us in creating the direction for where we want to go. So this is very important to be recognized as graduates of a high school that certainly is very proud to have you as our graduates, and to have you back with us to help us kind of revisit the memories that you have of that experience with us, and we thank you.
Let me join everyone in welcoming you all here this evening. It is truly a privilege for me to be a part of this truly unique process. I've never encountered it in my years of working in high schools elsewhere, and I think it is truly a remarkable one. And it does for me what I think is critical at a very critical time, is to underline the humanity of what we do at a time when people are trying to judge the good work that teachers, administrators, and educators do by the outcome of tests. They miss the point that this is all really about people, and what the distinguished graduates do is give us a very human face to their accomplishments and to the work that goes on in high schools. I've always felt that public education has gotten a raw deal in the last few years. So for me, it's always a very gratifying and supportive exercise to reflect on the people who have come out of our schools and have been very successful and have given back to their communities, and that at this point their communities recognize them for all of that. So it's an ongoing process. I congratulate all the honorees, and I look forward to meeting you and talking with you at greater length. So thank you very much for letting me be here.
As I think many of you know, what we do with the distinguished graduates is a two-part process. This is part one, and tomorrow morning at 7:50, the graduates will all turn up at Central High School and spend the day at the school with the students and the staff. And Kat D'Ambra and Joe have put together a program for tomorrow that will keep them occupied. So they'll all have an opportunity to be with the students tomorrow, and I think one of the things that to me is the most important about this, yes, this is a wonderful event, and I love this event, and I love the honoring piece, but I also love that the graduates spend the day with the students, who are always very interested to hear that there really is a life beyond high school, and that the life is diverse and varied and full of wonderful things. So with all of that in mind, I want to add my voice of congratulations to our three honorees. We're very proud of our three graduates who are here tonight. And to introduce the first of the graduates are his parents, Nancy and Tom Brown.
After being married 51 years, he's going to let me talk. I'd like to say that all of our children, Cindy and Mike, would be eligible for the Hall of Fame. They're very successful. So why did we decide to nominate Mark? Because he's in a field that we don't know anything about. So we figure if we keep him in the limelight, maybe we'll learn something. Mark has a very interesting life. He goes to Starbucks. He goes to the LA Farmers Market. He runs along Malibu. He has an agent that gets him a job. Something is not right here. You all go to work, and I did too. We did the 9 to 5 business. Mark doesn't seem to do that, so that's what makes his world so different. We had asked him about his future, and he said, you know, Mom, by the time I'm 37, if I haven't made it, I'm going to try, I have to do something else. Well, Tom and I have sat down many a day and said he's past 37, what else could he do? So Mark, we're telling you, stay where you are. We love you.
Mark, would you like to say a few words?
You've got time. Thank you very much. Looking at the group of teachers that have come back here for this, it's really amazing. And so I'm doubly disappointed that I'm not able to boast tonight that I am the new face for erectile dysfunction. I had my first Levitra audition last month, and when my agent called, I thought, good God, have I moved from young dad to Levitra needing guy? But I didn't get it. So I'm a little disappointed that I can't boast that I'm the new Levitra guy. The woman who did the Levitra one before, she made over $200,000 on that one spot. It's unbelievable. And I like to, of course, thank my parents. As my mom said, that when I went into this business, they knew nothing about it. They didn't know how an actor got a job, how an actor could keep a job, and that most of the time an actor is unemployed. And like she said, they still don't understand what I do. But they've always supported me and always encouraged me, and for that I'm always been very grateful. And thank you, Lynn, and the foundation for all that you do, not only for this, but I was looking at the web page, and the thing that jumped out at me was the Youth Inc. program that you do, and that you bring an opportunity to students at Hopewell Valley, what most playwrights in America would kill for, and that's a chance to work with the McCarter Theater. So thank you for this, but also thank you for everything else you do. I think that's certainly much more important, at least to me. Back when I was in high school, and back then it was a 5-mile walk uphill in the snow both ways. So I think they've fixed that. But one of the things that really amused me back then was that we had a marching band, and they would practice all the time. They practice out in the parking lot, and to learn, walk, and play the instrument, but stay in a formation, and then they practice on making that all-important marching band turn. And they would practice this. And what I always found funny about that was that back then they had nowhere to perform. We didn't have a football team. They didn't play at halftime of the soccer game. And it would have been a scene right out of Woody Allen or Benny Hill to see them at a cross-country meet. And the only time I can remember them ever marching was in the Pennington Memorial Day Parade. And if you haven't been on Main Street lately, it's a straight shot. It's there are no turns. So they never got to perform that all-important marching band turn. But looking back at it now, it's it's something wonderful because I certainly don't need to tell a room full of educators that those students were learning a lot more than just learning to walk and play their instrument. And I think it's that commitment to the arts that has made Hopewell Valley such a wonderful place to go to school. And as study after study has shown, that if the arts are an integral part of an education, that learning and achievement greatly increases. And I think that's really true at Hopewell Valley. I believe the graduation rate last year was 99%, and the national average is 68%. So I think it really shows the support for the arts here. And just looking at the classes I'm going to be talking to tomorrow is really very exciting. And they've seems to have added more arts classes since I was here, and I hope that continues to grow. And yes, I know about the recent budget and the music classes, and it's always hard for those things to happen. It's never easy. My wife and I live in California, where arts funding is dead last in the union, and we're in a state that's run by an actor and a Kennedy. And the California Arts Council last year was slashed by 96%. So it's no surprise that we're also the 8th dumbest state in the union. But as someone who's made his living in the arts and continues to make his living in the arts, I look forward to when it's on all levels, federal, state, and local, that the arts don't get pushed to the front because they're far too valuable. And speaking of valuable, I'd like to thank my wife. She's always said, some people may say threatened, but she's always said that if I ever got an award, I was supposed to thank her. Yeah, and she's a Genovese, so if I don't, phone calls are made and kneecaps are taken off. But the creative process is very mysterious and unpredictable, so she certainly puts up with a lot. And I thank all the teachers who have come here, and the Hiltons for coming up. It's just amazing. And there's one person who I really want to thank, and unfortunately he's not here. And if he was, that would be the scoop of the year for Rick. It's Bob Sine, and he was my performing arts teacher. And I didn't want to take performing arts when I was in school. I just wanted to play soccer. I wanted to play my guitar in a band. I wanted to run track. I didn't want to do the performing arts. But I ended up taking an acting class, and I fell in love with it right away. And Bob Sine unleashed inside me, just opened my eyes to this world of theater. And he went out of his way for me. He gave me private vocal lessons. I did shows with him at the school, down at the park. He and Ron Hilton let me. I used to skip Bob's last period class one spring, so I could go over and do my track workout, and then run back and go to the musical rehearsals. And it didn't always work that I'd make it back in time. I was always pretty sweaty, but it's teachers like Bob Sine and Ron Hilton back then who really went out of their way for students, and treated everyone as an individual. That was truly amazing. And so I'm glad everyone is here. I'm sorry that Bob Sine can't be here, because he was a wonderful man, and he was a great teacher and an even greater friend, and he really got me started in this business. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Lynn.
Our next honoree is Pat Ryan, and to introduce him is his nominator, Jim Burns.
A lot of memories came back. If I appear nervous, it's because my mentor is here, T. Cord Hutchison. I know this is going to be graded. My thanks to Lynn and the committee for the opportunity to honor distinguished graduates of Hopewell Valley Central High School. Having worked with the Hopewell Valley Athletic Hall of Fame, I can appreciate the difficulties of choice and the joy of honoring those who are so deserving. Having been aware of Pat Ryan and some of his contributions to his community, it was my pleasure to nominate him. Further research for today's event has amazed me with all he has accomplished. His life is a history of service to his family, his high school, his college, his country with military service, and to many state, county, and local associations. Feeling inadequate to describe this distinguished graduate from my own perspective, I queried family, friends, and business associates to try and accurately describe the man and the characteristics that make him a distinguished graduate. Those I contacted had the enviable task of describing Pat in one word, a difficult assignment. Responses reveal some of both why and how he has been so successful in service to others. Examples: friendly, high energy, easygoing, jovial, gregarious, positive, ebullient, dynamic, giving, focused, generous, vibrant, prepared. It gets better, Pat. Indescribable, gentle, strong. I can see his head getting larger. Bright, selfless, and compassionate. Family comments were particularly revealing. His dear mom, one word, very quickly, indispensable. His sister Karen, Patrick is a grinner, a UVA fanatic, parentheses, have him model his orange polyester suit sometime. An avid reader, a Moody Blues fan, the slowest driver on the face of the earth, a cook, a mediator, a dachshund lover, a serious businessman, an annoying snorer, a devoted family man, the perfect son, an enthusiastic consumer of food, an expert cheater at Monopoly. In one word, Patrick is indescribable. From Sister Debbie, my brother is a character, and a man of great character as well. He's kind, gentle, strong, bright, nerdy, selfless, compassionate, passionate, and generous. He's a servant leader with a huge smile, a love of dogs, a gourmet chef, an avid reader, a loving son and father. To me, he's my brother, and that pretty much covers it. From his dear wife, one word, generous. From daughter Kate, prepared. From daughter Molly, an acronym, first in, last out, Philo. I had trouble with that one on the phone. I thought it was silo. I looked it up and I said, no, this can't be a grain elevator. Come on. I had to call her back. Pat, it has been my pleasure to know you and to follow your career and accomplishments. Thanks for the memories. May your day in the high school serve as an inspiration to students of how satisfying life can be when you're able to serve others, and in so doing, make your community and your country a better place. Congratulations, Pat.
Not sure where to start now. I feel as though I've been the subject of a full background investigation. I was unaware of Mr. Burns' techniques for eliciting information from close family members without my knowledge. This is very concerning. It's something we'll have to take up after this affair is over. But I'd like to thank very much the foundation for selecting me and for honoring me. Lynn Cullinane does a wonderful job in organizing this activity, and is a great asset to the school community and the community at large. I'd like to also thank Helene for her very kind remarks when she was up here. You know, just to summarize quickly what the school did for me was it enabled me to learn how to learn. I didn't do very well in English 4B. I wasn't an honor student. I was probably the bane of the T. Court Hutchinson class in 1966-67. I was miserable in geometry. I actually had to have a tutor. I even challenged Jane Neary's formidable teaching abilities. But the school enabled me to learn how to learn, and this has been a lifelong process, because you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it literally, and that's always been true. It's been a great run for the last 40 years since I left the high school. My family is here today. My wife Micah, who said I'm generous. I'm pleased with that. I'm just wondering who said I snored. My daughter Molly, stand up, Molly. Molly's a senior at the high school. She'll be graduating in June and attending Arizona State University next year. My youngest daughter, Megan, stand up. Megan's in 8th grade over in Timberlane School. She will be going over to the high school next year. My oldest daughter, Kate, is also a graduate of the high school. She graduated in 2001, and this May she'll be graduating from the University of Virginia. I'd also like to recognize with us today the folks in the bank. I appreciate them coming here, especially my business partner, Jim Hyman. Jim, please stand up. Jim's the president of the bank. It's been a lot of fun coming back to Hopewell to start a bank, once again become a full member of the community, and being able to come back and reestablish relationships with many of my teachers. I appreciate their coming today. My former guidance counselor, Dick Williver, is here. Dick actually became principal my last year. Some thought it was promotion. Actually, my class drove him out of the job as guidance counselor, and when he took over the top job. Also joining us today was one of the fine coaches of our era and many other eras, Stan Davis, over here to my left. Stan was a very popular coach around the high school in those days. Back in the 60s, we didn't have such luxuries as athletic trainers. So if you had any kind of injury, especially anything that needed to be taped, you better find Stan, or else you were be on your own. So he was the best ankle taper in the history of the school, and I'm sure he'd even challenge Tim Coyne's formidable talents these days. And finally, just a word about Jim Burns. Jim, we're going to have to get into this very, very closely here with what this investigation you performed on me. But Jim did something for me he doesn't even know. I'd never mentioned it to him. But the very first day I was in the high school, my family had moved out here from St. Louis, Missouri. My father had bought a beer distributorship. We moved into Hopewell 2 days before I started my freshman year in high school. And I was in Mr. Burns' world history class. I still call him Mr. Burns. I can't help it. So I was in Coach Burns. I was in the world history class, and I'd come from St. Louis from a Catholic school background. I'd gone to a rather strict private school, Chaminade, where we were not so gently taught by the Franciscan brothers there. Any misstep on our part was not met with detention; it was met with a whack in those days. So I was in the world history class, and for some reason, Mr. Burns was asking questions I knew the answer to. So I'd raise my hand, and be a good Catholic school kid. I'd stand up, give the answer, sit back down. And I'd hear this laughter in the background. But I was pretty lucky that day. He kept asking questions I knew the answer to. And I think the rest of the kids in the class got the picture, so they just let me answer them. So I'd raise my hand, stand up, give the answer, they'd start laughing. I'd sit back down. Well, I think Jim must have noticed some distress on my face. I knew I was getting the answers right, but everybody's laughing at me. I'm the new kid from the Midwest. And after the class, he took me inside and said, Pat, you're not in Catholic school anymore. You don't have to stand up when you answer the questions. And they won't laugh at you anymore. So he did me a great favor there. If I hadn't have known that, there's no telling what would have happened. My psyche was terribly damaged. But Lynn, thank you very much. I appreciate this. I also like to congratulate Mark and Richard for their award today. And I look forward to tomorrow with some trepidation. Now, they have me speaking to the entire 9th grade in one period and the entire 11th grade in another period regarding alcohol and drug issues. And as I just told Kat, I said, most of my alcohol career, while I've had some background in prevention and treatment, most of my career in alcohol was involved selling it. So and that may not be appropriate for tomorrow. But thank you all very much, and have a good day. Thank you.
And to introduce Rick Sinding, Court Hutchinson.
How's the sound out there? Okay. We should get out of Afghanistan right now. Tiger Woods is a good role model for black youth. Pope John Paul II should be canonized. Discuss Saul Bellows' contribution to the American novel. The federal government should regulate the pharmaceutical industry. Can the flooding of the Delaware River be controlled? And finally, street gangs are not an adequate answer for a solid family life. Now, if you were back in high school and in the forensic club and going to participate in an extemporaneous contest, these are some of the topics you might pick. The way it works is this way. Put these names in a hat. These titles in a hat. The contestants go up, pick one out. They have 10 minutes to prepare a speech, 3 to 5 minutes long, I think that's it. 3 to 5 minutes long. Then they stand up and deliver the speech before judges. Rick Sinding was in this contest. He won the local contest, he won the sectional contest, and he was state champion, which is quite an accomplishment. How many of you could do that with a speech? One of these speeches, He did it. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be here to nominate him. And some of the things I'm going to tell you, mention, are in the program, but I made my speech up before I saw the program, and I'm not going to throw it out the window. But Rick has won a lot of awards. Probably one of the most outstanding one. The New Jersey Press Association selects the best editorial writer each year for a prize. Rick's gotten it 6 times. 6 times he's won a prize. First place, not just a prize, first place. He's on the advisory board for governor of New Jersey. He was on Channel 5. The list could go on. I got 3 pages of it. I condensed it to these few things. But they're all awards and honors and so forth. But I would like to tell you a couple of things that reflect on his character. When I first went over to see him in his office, I was sitting there and in the Princeton Packet office. I was sitting there and a phone call came in and it was a photographer. And he asked Rick, which photograph shall I use? He mentioned something, I've forgotten the details. And Rick said, you're the photographer, you pick. That's the way he runs his paper. Another instance, when I first broached the topic to him of nominating him for this award, you know what his first reaction was? You ought to pick my brother. This says something, I think, about the character. His brother, incidentally, at the time, I don't know where he is now, I think he was head of an organization called Planned Parenthood of Europe, with headquarters in London. That was his first reaction. You should have picked my brother. A fine gentleman, a worthy recipient of the Distinguished Scholarship, Rick Sindig. And thank you very much.
Well, you ruined my speech, Hutch. Because you took away the punchline of everything I was going to say. Because you called me by my first name, and you've never, ever done that before to anybody that I know in my entire life. He tells the story about my brother. This is the time when I'm supposed to stand up here and say, unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, but I can't very well do that after that introduction. So I will tell you that I felt all along that after Hutch had called me up and said, I want to nominate you for this thing, that I was actually being brought here under false pretenses. And the reason that I felt that way is because I do have an older brother. His name is Steve. He, by the way, graduated in 1961. I graduated in 1963, but that's by no means the first time that I have been confused with my brother Steve. In fact, I was quite surprised to have Hutch nominate me because I had assumed that for someone to be nominated to be a distinguished graduate, that meant that that person had to be somewhat distinguished as a student at Central High, at least have some modicum of academic achievement to show as part of one's resume. And that's where my brother Steve excelled. Steve was a very, very accomplished student, very, very good academically. In fact, I'll tell you an anecdote to give you an illustration of how much more accomplished academically Steve was than I. And that was that when I won the New Jersey State Extemporaneous Speaking Championship, I received a small plaque, and the school received a very large trophy. And Hutch set up this assembly for me to present the trophy to the principal. Now, you got to understand, Central High, I'll always call it Central High. For you, it's all Hopewell Valley. In those days, it was Central High School of Hopewell Township. And so we called it Central. In my graduating class, 1963, there were 117 students. All right? So when there was an assembly for the school, it was the whole school that was at the assembly. They could all fit into the auditorium. So here's this assembly. The entire school is assembled. Hutch gets up at the stage. Says to the principal, we have a very, very important presentation to make here today. Sinding has won this award, and Sinding's brought this great acclaim to the school, and we're just a small school, and we've been up against some of these, really, really big schools, and he won this award, so he's going to come up and make this presentation. Sinding, come on up. So I went on up, brought this trophy with me, handed it to the principal, Mr. Rosidi, and Mr. Rosidi shook my hand, turned to the microphone, and said, "Thank you very much, Steve." It's a true story. My mother's over there laughing. She will attest to the fact this is a true story. Steve has brought so much acclaim to the school. I know we're a small school, but Steve, we are so proud of you, and we know. And I am small to begin with, and I am getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Steve has gone on to
to a really distinguished career. He spent his career in the Foreign Service, rose to ambassadorial level with the Agency for International Development, has been with the Rockefeller Foundation, with the World Bank, is now, his formal title is Director General of International Planned Parenthood Federation. He's a world-renowned scholar on population and worldwide population efforts. He has a doctorate. So, here's what I figured happened. Hutch got this thing from this group saying we need distinguished graduates. And he thought, who do I know as a distinguished graduate? So he thought, Sinding. So he wrote down Sinding and sent it in. The committee, you've all seen Hutch's handwriting. So it took the committee 3 days to figure out what, Sinding, okay. And then they went back through the archives of the school and they found 2 Sindings. Steve Sinding, class of 61, Rick Sinding, class of 63. They saw that Rick Sinding lives in Princeton, 7 miles away. Steve Sinding lives in London, about 3,000 miles away. Who is likelier to come on a Tuesday afternoon to the Hopewell Valley Golf Club and show up tomorrow morning at Hopewell Valley High School and spend a whole day with the students? And that's why I'm here today. This is a very nice occasion. When Lynn called and asked me, is there anybody that you would like to have here? And I mentioned, I'm class of 1963. You're all youngsters by comparison. There aren't that many teachers who are still around. Jay Neary was, I think, there the whole time I was there. Jim Burns came when I was a junior in high school. And so I thought, well, okay, how many of them are living? So Hutch was the person who had nominated me, and I said, the other person that I really would like to see here, if they could possibly attract him to come, was Dick Williver. Because Dick was my guidance counselor as well, and was also the advisor to the Key Club. And as someone who did not distinguish himself curricularly, but spent a lot of time extracurricularly, having mentors like Hutch with the forensic team and Dick as the advisor to the Key Club, I think what made it so special was that they made you feel as though you were achieving something, even if that achievement was not academic. And God knows in English 4B it was never academic. That there were ways in which you could contribute, there were ways in which you could literally distinguish yourself without it having to be the race to score well on the tests. And I like to think that that's part of the reason why, some of us turned out the way we did, late bloomers. And I hope, and I presume that when I go back to the high school tomorrow, that's still the same atmosphere and the same culture that I'm going to find there. Because I think that that's part of what being from Pennington, Hopewell Township, Hopewell Borough is all about. It's kind of eclectic. It's a very, very solid school system, but there's so many different ways in which you can achieve. There's so many different ways in which you can grow. And there are so many different literal mentors that you have while you're doing that who can help you along the way. So I thank you very much for choosing me. I look forward to tomorrow, and I thank you all for being here.
Well, first, my apologies, because I'm responsible for the 1961, but I made no mistake in the person that we selected. Don't you agree? We meant Rick Sinding. Thank you all so much for these comments. This is a day that's about the graduates, but it's also a day that it's about the teachers. And I think one of the most powerful things to me about this event over the 3 years we've been doing it is the extent to which the graduates who have come back to us, and the 3 tonight are really strong indicators of this, who have incredible achievements to their credit. They've done wonderful, wonderful things in the world and for people. And some of them have excelled professionally, like Mark, and some of them have given and given and given on many, many levels, like Pat and like Rick. And for them to come back to our small town and our small school with such vivid memories and such strong connections to teachers whom they had, in some cases, quite a long time ago, to me is very, very powerful about the importance of the work that teachers do. And I believe in that work very much. So I thank them all for the generous comments about the teachers who are here today to welcome them. And I thank the teachers who came. I think we need to present some plaques.
You got that.
It is my privilege to present the following to Mark Brown, Distinguished Graduate Award in recognition of outstanding professional achievement. Mark? Congratulations. Second award to Patrick Ryan, Distinguished Graduate Award in recognition of outstanding professional achievement. And finally, to Rick Sinding. There was a great opportunity there, I passed. Distinguished Graduate Award in recognition of an outstanding professional achievement. Sure. Each of the honorees have mentioned that they will be at the high school tomorrow, bright and early. Don't be late. Despite some of the assumptions of the members of the staff, we do take measures against tardiness. We will give them an opportunity to address a variety of different students in a variety of different settings. We do make special arrangements so that we can expose the graduates to as many students as possible so that they can benefit from their experience, knowledge, and I know they're going to be sharing that. Pat will indeed be speaking to large numbers of students in the auditorium. I will have the privilege of introducing him in that regard. So it will be a full day. It's a special day that we structure so that, as I said, everybody can get as much exposure as possible, and we keep them well fed and engaged throughout the whole time, and I look forward to having you there, and it should be an exciting day. You want to make closing remarks, or is that? Please.
Just one last thing before we close. We have wanted for the last 3 years to try to get some sort of arrangement set up in the high school where there would be a permanent place to post the names of our distinguished graduates. And Joe and Kat have been able to work that out. So I'm pleased to say that starting, I guess, this year, we'll have a spot where we can post the names of our graduates we've honored in the past 3 years, and we'll continue to do that as we go along. I want to thank you all very, very much.
Hi, I'm Rocco Russo, and I'm a board member of the foundation, and I just wanted to add a footnote to our gathering here this evening, this afternoon. I just wanted you all to know that the concept of the Distinguished Graduate Award evolved with Lynn, and she has made this such a great event. I just want to make sure that we recognize her and thank her for all her efforts. She has worked hard to really bring this to a meaningful event, not only for the individuals, but also for the entire school district. So, Lynn, thank you.